I'm sorry.
Well, you're already rocking in the free world, so keep at it.
Anyway, this is Hobby Hotline, episode 338. It is Saturday, March the 29th, 2025. And I can't believe they let me run this again. For those of you listening out there in podcast land, I'm Chris Harris from Steel Gum and Baseball Cardpedia. I'm joined by the uncle we all wish we had, Rich Klein.
It was funny, speaking of the uncle we all wish we had, my great-nephew and his uncle, who's his age, and I'll explain that some other time, they came over to our house to do so, and then they and my great-nephew's mom came over, my niece came over to the house to do some work. A week ago Saturday, and they went, and I don't have a lot of cards, but they went digging in the closet, and so of course Uncle Rich said, yeah, take the cards. So yes, I am the uncle everybody wants. Yeah, to go take if you're related to me, you can take my cards. But what was amazing is that I had picked up at the trade night at one of my local triple card stores, and the triple card empire is growing. If you follow them on social media, they announced between triple cards, Waxed, and some of the other stores they're affiliated in some new ventures coming up. But the one that really struck me was the one in Singapore. Yes, Singapore. It's like, okay, now this is one. Okay, let me give up my job. Let me move to Singapore, and I'll manage that store just for the experience of getting out of this country. But the point is, they are expanding. And when I was at their last trade night at their Rowlett store, and I picked up this Del Crandall PSA 4 53 Topps card. Well, the kid knew what PSA was, and it's a nice looking card. And he was so enthralled. He says, "That's what I want." And I said, "Fine, you can have it." It's like, okay. So it ended up in the exact hands of somebody it should have been with, just in a very circuitous way. And I see that Adam has joined us. So good morning, Adam.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Great to have a third wheel. So
yes, otherwise we'd be calling for help desperately. Saying, Chris and I can discuss whether Topps should keep doing Heritage for an hour, or what they should do with Topps base. But we've done that conversation before. We can do it.
It's been beaten to death like a dead horse, but
we can beat it some more.
If we got some time.
Heritage High number came out this week, so I'm excited.
Why is it coming out now?
Because they probably didn't realize our friend, Rich Muller,
let me ask you a question, Rich, and Adam, maybe you can answer this. What's your favorite 75 Topps high number series card?
Hey, I love them all. But there were 59, there were also 73 high number series, and there was only in some parts of the country 73.
No, I'm just talking about 75 high number series card.
Hey, we'll call the minis the high numbers. So in honor of John Keating, who's probably listening, the Herb Washington mini card.
Okay, it was a trick question. There was none.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm playing along with you.
Okay. So
having said that, I'm still excited.
If Heritage is based on a set from 50 years ago, why does this product exist? Heritage.
Why not? Look, we were talking about this before Adam came on before the show. Our mutual friend Rich Muller, on one of his Sports Collector daily articles, said the most popular item from the Topps website last year was 2024 Topps Heritage. It is what's interesting. It's a collector-based product, and yet one of the topics we want to talk about is how subtly it seems, and I have not been paying enough attention, how subtly Topps media is evolving from information about Topps to more of a lottery style. Hey, look at this one great one of one that got pulled, and so it all ties in together, but yet the most popular item on the site was a collector-based product. And I find that absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's look at the chat here. We like dead horses on Hobby Hotline. Unfortunately, we don't have a horse, much less a dead horse, to beat around. Good morning. Heritage connects older and newer collectors. Does it though?
Well, you get the chance for the hits.
I don't
It
see
has
a
the
whole
new
lot
players and the old people like me. I get to relive the stuff I dealt with all those years ago. Bob is absolutely correct.
Cooper Flag will be the next Caitlin Clark. Is that meant as a compliment? I don't know. Grab a stick. Let's start beating. Okay. Let me transition into the topic that I wanted to lead on, and that's the Paul Skenes card. I know this happened 2 weeks ago. We all know the story. Kid pulls it on Christmas Day. Okay, it sold for. It actually didn't actually sell for $1.11 million. It sold for the winning bid was $925,000. And with the hammer fee, it went up to 1.11. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of happy with who bought the card. Dick's Sporting Goods, which I don't think many of us thought was going to buy this. Apparently, they have a new concept for a superstore called the House of Sport, which, will have like golf simulators and climbing walls and almost like a theme park for adults. And Dick's is actually based in the Pittsburgh area. And this card is going to be on permanent display in one of their stores in the Pittsburgh suburbs. And I, for one, am happy about that because it didn't wind up in the hands of an influencer or some breaker or some celebrity that's just going to try and flip it for a cheap buck 2 or 3 years from now. This card is going to be on display in a store so that people can see it. And that card's probably never going to be sold ever. Unless, well, this is the Pirates, so he's probably going to get traded in about 3 or 4 years. So who knows? So what do you guys think about who bought this card? Dick's, because I don't think that anybody had that on anybody's radar.
Is my connection okay? First of all, I just moved into a new house, so I'm still working out the internet and everything.
You're good.
Okay. I had the same thought as you. I thought I didn't see it coming, and I thought that was cool because I kind of had that vision too. Like you were just saying, like I like Dick's Sporting Goods. I enjoy going into a Dick's Sporting Goods store, and if I can go in and there's a golf simulator, I can do a little of that, buy some new T-ball equipment for my kids. And then who knows, maybe they make like a card section of Dick's Sporting Goods moving forward. So I can hit up a card shop, go to a sporting goods store all in one. And you get to see awesome cards like that. I'm just thinking down the road, maybe they expand this and each location has a card section, like almost like a card shop within a Dick's where they have awesome cards for display and stuff you could buy too. So I thought it was cool, and I agree with you. Seems like those cards always land in, someone's lap or someone buys them, and then you see it sell over and over and over. I think what was one of the last big ones, it's already sold a couple times since it originally sold. So I thought it was really cool. I'm a fan of that. I know not everyone likes Dick's Sporting Goods bidding on auctions like that, but I thought it was cool because, I think most of us in the hobby here aren't in the market for that card anyway. So it's no skin off our back.
Darren Ravel actually mentioned on his website, I still don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Cult Is that how you pronounce CLLCT? Cult. But anyway, he mentioned that this might be a gateway for Dick's to really get into cards, because, and I was surprised when I read this, but Dick's Sporting Goods does sell a lot of trading cards, but they're mostly impulse buys, like a small little box at the register. They really don't have a card section set up. So kind of interesting to see what if this is the beginning of Dick's becoming a large chain of not just sporting goods stores, but hobby shops as well. Maybe not hobby shops, but card retailer.
Well, a couple things. One, remember that Otani, was it the card or the ball that ends up in an office like on the 57th floor in a Tokyo, Japan building, where you can see it. It's a growing trend for corporations to buy these really high-end items. I mean, so far it's only 2, but I suspect there will be more of that. As more and more high-end stuff comes into the market, both old and new, it will be something that will keep growing, I suspect. And I think you hit on something that we were talking about even before Adam showed up, and I went on my little monologue. But again, if Dick's Sporting Goods and all their stores come up with card sections, or most of them come up with card sections, you are expanding your audience. And remember, Fanatics mantra includes, we want to 10x the hobby. Well, not everybody might walk into a hobby store, but a lot of people who may not be active card collectors or may not can go into Dick's and, go into a bigger location. Oh, there are cards here. Okay, I'll get that as part of my purchase. So again, that's another way to increase the hobby by not necessarily having people like Mike Petty and Rex, who put us up on their storefront, on their TVs in their stores, by having another outlet, a very successful retail chain outlet to sell their items in. So it's, again, good marketing too.
Yeah, it's a loss leader basically for Dick's. I mean, what's $1 million to them? They get publicity and they get an entry into a new business. So we shall see what happens.
Well, remember in 1998, for those that are old enough to remember, Todd McFarlane basically got his license to do Major League starting figures by being the one to buy the McGwire 70th home run ball for $3 million. That ball is probably not worth $3 million today.
No.
But it was worth it to him, just like this may be worth it to Dick's, in terms of getting the publicity for how active they are in the hobby.
Let's go through the chat here. We need more Skenes. Wemby, the trombonitis talk, and that's the hobby. Otami is on pace to seal 0 bases. Okay, I can see.
He's already got a couple.
I can smell the sarcasm in that post. Fanatics and Dick's already have a relationship. That's where they shop from the jerseys from no specific game, event, or date. Okay. No dicks around me. That can be read hundreds of ways. Aloha, better than GameStop. Dick's has 1,405 institutional owners, so that's one way to 10x it. I did not know that. I used to buy all my pickleball gear from Dick's, but they make too much money, so I'll go elsewhere. News, Cthulhu News, Dollar Tree has acquired an Angel Reese card. Okay, lots of real funny guys in the comments today.
And we don't even have John Keating.
No. I want to transition. Okay. Now
sorry about that.
Completely different. Rich, I introduced you as the uncle those of us in the hobby never had. I want to focus on something that I think the sister most of us have never had. Sue's posted on social media. And everybody knows Sue's, right? Everybody loves Sue's. She tweeted that this was something that caught my eye because I wrote about it for Hobby News Daily a couple of weeks ago. This is on the bottom of Series 1. For a company that doesn't want to represent that cards will, quote unquote, attain future value, it posts a lot of about value of cards. This is a departure and a definitive shift in marketing, which is fine, but something that my brain is trying to reconcile. And I don't know if this is a case of great minds thinking alike, but in my most recent post for Hobby News Daily, I actually wrote about how Topps' social media accounts and their marketing on social media has changed a lot, especially over the last couple of months, really the last year or so. It's more about posting ones of one that people have pulled, ones of one that are being put into products. And I think a little more, I don't want to say disturbing, but kind of unsavory is all these posts about how much their cards sell for. Is this a good way to market the hobby, you guys think?
Adam, you want to lead off?
Sure. Well, I've been saying this on my channel for a while now. I think it's fine to do that. It's fine. I'm okay with there being, ever since we were kids in the 80s with Beckett magazines, money has always been a part of it. But for us, it was never like the primary driver. It was about collecting first and enjoying it. And it was cool that cards were worth money. But I think the major companies that really run the hobby now, like Topps, Fanatics, PSA, especially like you said on social media and stuff, I don't see them highlighting collectors enough. You can do both. It doesn't have every post on your X feed and Instagram doesn't have to be about one of ones and $1 million cards and money. You can do a little collecting too. Here's a guy who put together this set, or I would love to see them do more of that. It's not like you have a cap on how many posts you can make on social media. Why not mix in some of that other stuff too? Because I think it will help them in the long run by promoting the joy of collecting and also, hey, these things are worth money.
What I find interesting is, remember, Fanatics is a company, and since we're talking about Topps, so it's Topps Fanatics. They are a for-profit business, and like Rex talked about the sales in his store of that Topps Chrome or whatever product that Skenes card was supposed to be in. The day all those bounties came out about the Skenes card, including Livy Dunn saying, you can be in my suite for one of the games, and who wouldn't want to be in a suite with Livy Dunn? And they were selling those packs like hotcakes in their store. Topps understands the root of this hobby nowadays is money. I agree with you, Adam. And I was talking to Chris before you come here. My old synagogue show was a 45 table show that was literally a 3-ring circus. We had, but by the nature of what we had bags of cards we gave away with prize slips. So we had 2 prize tables at every show. We had 45 dealer tables. It was very accessible. It was $1 to get in the door. It was a type of show that even Michael Rubin would have loved. We have a new location now. It is a smaller facility. I have 21 tables. I don't do the bags of cards. I now still get donations of cards, and I bulk them out to local dealer collectors who do very well with them, and I'm very happy with that. It's a very good ecosystem. So, and I tell Chris, if Michael Rubin came to my little show, he'd probably shake his head and say, what type of show is this? Where's all the flash and dash? Because the world has changed. And I get that. What I'm doing works for what I do. And my show's Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, Monday. It's going to be what it is. And I understand that and I appreciate that. But as a for-profit business, Topps has to, and so therefore Fanatics has to do something to juice up the sales of their Topps Now cards, of their products, and doing some hype and talking about one-of-one cards. It makes sense on a corporate level. And I always tell people, you always have to think about this on a business level, not just on a hobby level. I would love to go back to the 70s when you traded cards and your Mickey Mantle was worth maybe only a little more than your Gene Stick Michael card. Those days are done, folks. And it hurts. It's not fun. But I still have fun with what I do. I have my little niche. You have your niche. Chris has his niche. Chris does Baseball Encyclopedia. He does a great job with that.
That's baseballcardpedia.com.
Sorry, Baseball Cardpedia, whatever you do, Chris. Yeah. But, you do a great job with that. It's a very useful tool. We all find how we get by. And yes, Topps can and should feature a little more of what we do. But as a corporate entity, their job is to drive sales. And so focusing on one-on-ones makes perfect sense. Look, my own employer, ComC, when I go on their social media, half their posts are about how people have flipped cards on ComC for a lot of money. That's perfectly fine. That is how we draw people to ComC. Again, it's a corporate thing to do. If we don't have to like it, or we can love it. But either way, for-profit businesses have to think about how to make for-profit.
Okay. So, Rich, you mentioned earlier about how a local card shop in your area sold a lot of Topps Chrome Update to people with the hopes of pulling a Skenes card, right? We've drawn in a lot of new collectors over the last couple of years, and this is what I'm afraid of. With the chase for all these ones of one that realistically most people are never going to be able to pull, and you wind up with these. We're going to wind up with a lot of these folks that have come into the hobby hoping to make a buck, let's be honest, that really aren't interested in collecting. And they spend a lot of money on Topps Chrome Update packs. They don't appreciate the cards that they pull. And then they wonder why they can't get more than 50% for buyback for the cards that they pull. And that's going to lead to like a lot of folks that, because they're getting burned in the pursuit of this chase, that are going to leave the hobby with a lot of bad feelings. And I don't think, and I've said this before, this is not how you 10x the hobby. You don't 10x the hobby by making people feel like they've been had or making people feel like chumps.
I'll respectfully disagree, because the world is becoming a lottery type system and everybody has that dream. Not everybody, but a lot of us who buy packs, maybe not the people watching this program, but a lot of people who buy packs have the dream. Today's the day I win the lottery. Today's the day I get the big hit. Today's the day. It's yes.
But they never do,
it's
though.
Not perfect, but it is a fact of life. Hype sells. And whether we like it or not, we have to understand that. As we talk all the time on Dr. Beckett's podcast, I, and a few other people, we have a cadre of people that we basically all go to the same value boxes at the Dallas Card Show. And basically our point is we can't lose when we go through the dollar boxes or the quarter boxes. we have an understanding of what we're doing. So we're not trying to win big. We understand we can't lose. Other people are trying to win big, but they understand they can lose. And if, and that is a hard lesson. And it's not the way the hobby was even 10 years ago, but it is what it is today. And we have to understand that the world changes.
But this hobby is not going to be sustainable if all we're producing isn't collectors, but lottery ticket players. You know that.
But not everybody is a lottery ticket player. And if you get a certain percentage.
But a lot of these guys that have come into the hobby are.
Well, Chris, not everybody. I go to the shows and the shows are packed. I mean, tell me why the shows are so packed with people. I mean, and then how many booths do you see people saying, I'm buying these cards at 80, 90, 100, 110%? All these people are buying cards. There's something positive going on.
Well, to me, when I go to a card show, one of the busiest tables is the guy with the banner that says buying, paying 65% comps, and all the desperate collectors that are looking to cash in. That's just what I see.
I see both ends of it. I side more with Chris on the fact that if Fanatics wants it to just boom for a short period of time further, and the current trajectory may do that, but they have, how long of a license do they have? 20 years, something like that. I mean, if they really want it to sustain, I think they do have to mix in a little bit of, it doesn't mean it has to be either or, but they have to mix in a little bit of the collecting, which I don't think the ship has sailed on that. I think, Rich, my favorite podcast that I ever listened to are when you go on Dr. Beckett's podcast, and when you guys talk about the good old days, the past, or even how you interact at card shows now with the dollar boxes. I find myself, thinking, I like that. I want to do that. I want to go in those dollar boxes. And I think, just because things are a certain way right now, it doesn't mean there can't be some more of that. You can influence younger collectors, especially the smart ones who look to people who have a lot of experience in the hobby and see what they do. There are those people, and I think there'll be more and more of those, especially, I think some of the things going on now are going to burn out. They're not sustainable parts of the hobby, with repacks and reselling and eventually that's not gonna last, I don't think, in that form, unless they reinvent it somehow in some other way. But I think if they want to think long term, which any smart business does, along with short term, they gotta focus a little more on collecting and less on one-of-ones. And I like one-of-ones. I have some, but I also have, cards from when I was a kid and stuff like that. So it's just, I consider myself more of a moderate with things. I try to find the happy medium, but the hobby seems like it's swung way one way right now.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Adam.
And frankly, when hobby anything swings too far in one direction, usually there's a counterbalance. So that's why I'm not panicking about this. That's why I say we understand where we are. We also have to understand, this is why I always stress for-profit business. Their goal is to make money. They've invested a lot of money in this. They've invested a lot of money in getting athletes to sign. They've invested a lot of money into making the cards. They've invested a lot of money into buying the printing presses. They've invested a lot of money all over the place. They have to get that money back. It is, again, business is business. And it's, when I'm probably as old as you and as Chris combined. And so.
Don't be so sure about that.
Oh, I'm teasing. I know the two of you combined are a little bit older than me. That's okay. But, I understand that things evolve, and they don't always evolve the way we want them to evolve. And that's one of the saddest things in life. I grew up on 60s and 70s pop music. I like the 80s. There were some good songs in the 90s. I can't listen to pop music today. That music is something foreign to my ears. And yet there are some good pop songs. but I don't relate to any of them. And I understand that. And yet every once in a while I'm forced to listen. If I'm in my wife's car, I either listen to when she's playing current country or current pop. And so I hear that thing. And yet I heard a song from 2000, a country song from 2002 the other day when I was in her car. And there was a line about baseball cards in the car. And it's a Mark Wills song from 2002, 19 something, where he talked about what it was growing up. And the video shows kids growing up in the 70s and 80s. Those days are done. We're in 2025 now. It is a different world than 1975. And yes, Chris is right. There were no Heritage high number packs in 75, but there were 75 cards and there'll be 76 cards. And, we'll get 76 Heritage soon enough. And we'll enjoy seeing the bicentennial, relived again. And it's okay. It's something that attracts old and new, as Bob Boozle says. And we like that. We need to focus both on yesterday and today. And today it's becoming a different world, and we focus on that. Tomorrow it might be a different world again, and we'll focus on that. We may not like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but the checklist for 2025 Heritage came out yesterday, and it's a little interesting. We'll discuss later, but I want to get into some of the chat here. I know a guy in Jersey named Tony Bag of Cards, and I know him too. I always meet him underneath the Pulaski Skyway. He's got some good deals. So,
okay, Mookie goes to a show I love, by the way. Mookie goes to the Garfield Card Show, and the Garfield Card Show is run by my good friend Gary, and it's truly an old school show. And he runs it as an old school show. He runs it as a charity show for the Boys and Girls Club of Garfield, New Jersey. It runs for 5 hours, a couple Sundays a month. And it's a kick butt show. There's a lot of business done in that show. And there's even a group of collectors. And they bring Dunkin' Donuts coffee with them, and they have a coffee clatch. That's the one show I really still want to go to again and join the clatch, as I still know most of the people in the clatch.
Yeah, I've been to that show maybe a couple of times, and if it wasn't like a 3.5 hour drive to get there from where I'm at, I'd be there every fifth Sunday too. We got a shout out for your little show, Rich.
Thank you, Stu. Yeah, it's a fun little show. It is what it is, and I almost hand select the dealers because I know my audience.
Yeah. Great take from Adam. Hope the powers that be serious consider it market to both, but to also collectors. Okay. Most collectors were not out to get rich from their card collection. Then COVID, prices were in the moon, and people are still have their heads in the clouds. I mean, I see so many kids trying to offload their cards, and they're learning the hard way what a lot of people in my generation learned the hard way back in the late 80s and early 90s. Your cards are not really worth as much as you thought they were. So I collect for the love of collecting. If my cards go up, yeah, I think that's what most folks are. I only collect Wander Franco. Okay, let me guess. You also collect Luis Polonia and Mel Hall and who was that other pedo who played for the Yankees in the 90s?
Mel Hall's still in the Texas jail, by the way.
Yeah, okay. To go with my Andrew Luck collection. All right. Just left the Syracuse Collectors Con, was blown away by the gender diversity versus the card show balance in the same venue. Seems like a lot more room for improvement. Yeah, I mean, the hobby is a bit of a sausage festival. I'll just lay it with that. You can't 10x the amount of people in the hobby, but you can 10x the money. That's what I've always. When Michael Rubin said he wanted to 10x the hobby, I really didn't understand what what he was 10xing. What is he? Is he 10xing the number of people, or is he 10xing the money? I still haven't quite figured that out yet. Let's see here. Looking to win the door prize at Garfield. Still have never won a door prize. Give it a few more decades. Yeah, you might win once. By and large, people who play the lottery at the lower end of the income curve, which is true. Is it the same for those ripping ultra modern chasing the big hit? Well, if you're poor, you're probably not chasing ultra modern, buying ultra modern, chasing that hit. But it kind of is like the lottery for upper middle income folks. What the hobbies, I don't know. Let's see, what else? Dollar Box does not smell of desperation like other vendor areas, but there are, well, I'll just leave that thought to myself. I get a lot of people looking at my 10-cent boxes. Okay. The boom is needed for a Fanatics IPO, but I am blown away how easy it is to move bulk on Facebook Marketplace versus singles. Okay. I want to hunt for exhibits in your 10-cent box. You could probably find some of those 2004 Leaf exhibits in a 10-cent box. I never understood that insert set. That's a deep album cut for those that know. Uncle Rich wants his Herman's back. I only listen to Petty. Nothing wrong with some Petty every once in a while. And you don't have to live like a refugee. And here come the Petty references now. Running down a cardboard dream. So you won't.
We're really free falling in this conversation.
Learning to buy because I'm short on cash. Okay. That's a repeat. Did the big boy arrive yet? I don't know what that plays.
Mike Petty won a big Honus Wagner card in that recent auction. I forget the name of it.
Tom Petty. Okay.
Yeah.
I collect Steve Jeltz. Okay. Let's just move on from this.
Great chat. Some legends in the chat.
Oh, yeah. They're all legends. The chat's better than us.
Yeah, way better.
So later on tonight, in the lovely burg of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the greatest soccer team in the world, first place in MLS, your Philadelphia Union will be taking on Inter Miami in Fort Lauderdale. Whatever, it's supposed to be temporary. They've been there for 5 years. And Inter Miami, of course, has one big name. Well, they have a lot of big name stars, but probably the biggest superstar in all of professional sports right now. Of course, I'm talking about Florida Man. Florida Man Lionel Messi, who, like Florida Man, might not be showing up for work tonight because he got injured. He didn't show up for work for Argentina in the World Cup qualifiers this week. Argentina had no trouble beating Brazil 4-1, but there was a story that Rich that you brought to my attention. It's behind a paywall. It's The Athletic, but let me see. Let me get it up here. Share screen. Can you see that? There he is, Lionel Messi. Who's signing his autographs? And yeah, it's behind a paywall, so yeah. But this leads me to wonder, with so many, with the trading card companies, demanding so many autographs from these guys. How on earth can these guys possibly sign all these cards? And how do we know that they're really authentic? Because you remember a couple of years ago, Dak Prescott got busted for using an auto pen. And now Lionel Messi's probably may or may not be signing his own autographs. How do we really know that the trading card companies are really getting these guys to sign these autographs? What do you guys think?
There's a couple things I want to say. One, if from what I was able to get through the article before the paywall hit, PSA are the people that looked and said this was not an autograph of Lionel Messi. So kudos if PSA is right, they are protecting their brand. And I'll teasingly say I can speak from experience about that because I have my own Topps card from way back in the day and I signed most of them. And PSA had no exemplars, so they turned down my friend's card. JSA and CGC have exemplars, so they'll accept it. That's a different story for a different day. But on a corporate level, PSA, and I'll use me as an example, if they're uncomfortable, PSA DNA is uncomfortable with an autograph, they want to protect their corporate brand and say, we're not just going to accept this card. We have to be sure. And so, especially on the highest level autographs, I think instead of just sending a player a card or whatever, I think Topps really does have to go back to the old school days of we witness, at a certain autograph level, we witness the signatures. Now, there were some problems, obviously, during COVID where you did not want to go and travel and witness things in person. But I think now you go and you witness in person. And I think that's a good corporate thing to do, to say, if you're on the level of LeBron James, if you're on the Lionel Messi level, if you're on that level, we'll spend whatever it takes to get the autographs authenticated in person in front of a rep.
Do you know, has the card companies ever done it where they, video the person signing the cards? And then, I mean, couldn't they do something like that where Messi has 100 cards that he's going to sign? Would the players be not for that, you think? Would there be problems with that if they just create a video? And let's say a card had a little QR code on the back. You scan it, boom, it pulls up the video of him signing that card.
The problem with that, if you're signing at a person's house, as you saw pop up a few months ago, is the targeted robberies of these people's houses.
Yeah.
So if they are signing at a Topps office or a public place, that's fine. Okay. If they want to sign at their home, that can be, as we saw, as I said, and some of that was the player's own, I don't want to say fault, but own responsibility for filming stuff, within their own houses. But as we saw, that can be a issue for the player's safety. And we certainly don't want the players not to be safe. But if you in Dallas, and let's pick Corey Seager, he's not at that level, but let's pick Corey Seager as an example, or Luka Doncic before he got traded, or Dirk Nowitzki, or Dak, or whatever. You get them to Jerry Jones, to the Star in Frisco, if it's the Cowboys, or somewhere in Arlington if it's the Rangers, or downtown Dallas if it's a Maverick or a Dallas Star, or some other player who lives in the area. You get them to a public place and you have them sign publicly. That is fine to do the video. But as I pointed out, the problem with doing the video at the person's house has popped up on high-profile robberies. And we certainly don't want people getting robbed. And that's becoming a legitimate issue. So it's a great theory, but again, it's going to be the implementation to make it work.
Now, from what I understand, at least in the NFL, and I think this is negotiated as part of the NFLPA license, players during the season only have, there's certain windows during the season when players can sign for trading card companies. And that's usually once during training camp and once during their bye week. And then they have
also if they're a
rest,
rookie during the rookie
and during the rookie, but for veteran players, I'm talking about.
Right.
So, let's look back in the chat. I want a Mike Petty signed check. Okay.
I'll take a Mike Petty signed check too. You know,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I want an Al Bundy signed check. Super rare. He did score 4 touchdowns for Polkai. So, Mike Baker, NBA, might be authentic. Okay. I had to submit my Maris family. Rogers Senior signed index card 3 times before they had an exemplar. So, yeah, I mean, you figure there are some autographs of some guys that either died young or who just died before signing became a thing. How do you authenticate those guys? Like, some guy had at a card show a couple of years ago had an autographed Lyman Bostock baseball. Rich probably knows who Lyman Bostock was. He was a player for the Twins who got murdered, I think, in '78 when he was 3 years in. But how do you authenticate that? Game use jock straps. Okay. What if I'm just dead on the inside? Does that count? I think we all have those existential crises every once in a while. So,
well, you are in your midlife, so you know.
Let's see. We got about 12, 15 minutes. You want to talk about Heritage and this Celebration Series 1 thing that Topps came out with? You down for that? Or
yeah, I mean, honestly, I did not even know Celebration was out there until I saw some photos. It looks like a fun set, actually.
I'm trying to figure out what it is because when I first saw the first photos of what this product might be about a month ago, I thought, they're just bringing opening day back. You know, mascot inserts, kitty inserts. And I mentioned this like a couple of weeks ago. Now I kind of, the more I've discovered about this product, the more I feel like, you know, the end of a Scooby-Doo episode where the gang catches the bad guy and they rip the mask off of the bad guy and it's someone completely different. And they would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids. The more the more of this Series 1 celebration I found out about, all it is just a rehash of Series 1 with just new inserts. I mean, what's the point of this?
Yeah, I just think there's too many products. You know, I know we've probably been saying that for a long time now, but yeah.
It's not too many products. It's the exact same product.
Or too many names.
That they released a month ago, just with new inserts.
I mean, Heritage is great. I love Heritage. I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand the need to make it more confusing. I got enough to remember.
Well, the price point is okay. And you know, and if it's designed to get and I want to use the word kids or younger people or people who like fun designs, it looks like I just looked quickly. It looks like a product where they're trying to be flashy and fun. And if you're going to be flashy and fun, and the price point's okay, it's not the biggest deal. It's not the biggest deal in the world. And then do it for Series 2. Again, you were complaining earlier about let's say, price points and lottery things. Tell me what the lottery is in Series 1 Celebration.
Okay, there's at least 2 or 3 inserts that are like 1 in 300 and 1 in 600 pack hits.
Okay, but are they hyping those, or are they just
Yes,
talking?
they are.
Okay, that's fine. Again, but that's also when you open the pack, you say, "Oh, they're looking at all these cool cards." Again, I'm okay with this.
But you already bought these cards last month. I mean, this isn't like opening day back in the day where, yeah, the cards look like Series 1, but they had that logo on it that said opening day, so it's a little different. It's literally the same 350 card Series 1 base set. And a lot of the inserts from Series 1 are also in these packs. So it's not just the inserts are different. They've added more inserts. They've added the mascots, Walk This Way, which I think is like the 1 in 600 pack hit. I don't.
It's funny. I'm looking at I'm looking on their website. That's a really cool card, by the way. The Walk This Way.
If you could find them.
Okay, but it's still really cool. It's still a really cool card.
Yeah, if again you could find them. Let's see. Let's go back to the Bostock is a bit of a legend up here. Celebration, is that the Cool in the Gang swatches and auto?
That's from my era.
Celebration. I remember when we ripped off the cardboard box off of Uncle. Ooh, somebody stole something from you, Rich, and now they're
I've had
rubbing it in your face.
It's okay, Mookie, we forgive you. You
know,
know,
Wally
Mookie,
the Green mascot autograph is a real thing. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they've had Wally the Green Monster mascot autographs in opening day the last couple of years it was around. It's not that big of a deal.
I want to go back. I want to go back to something because Mookie talks about. We've talked about the Garfield card show. Well, I had 2 friends no longer living that had a nice little neighborhood store in the 1980s in Garfield, New Jersey. Henry Davis and Hans Jubelt, and it was H&H Hobbies. And people, I remember in '85 they had 85 Topps packs at 50 cents each. And if you didn't pull the Mattingly or the Gooden or the really hot Clemens or at the time Eric Davis, you left your cards on the counter. Well, I can't tell you how many Mark McGwire rookies they ended up with out of all that. So for people who are complaining, yes, the stakes are higher today, but for people who are complaining about the hobby and how it's a lottery, folks, it was a lottery in 1985. It was just that the stakes were a lot cheaper. 50 cents a pack is not hundreds of dollars a box. But the general principle has not changed in 40 years. It's just the affordability has changed for a lot of people, but it's the same principle. And if Celebration gets people in, and I don't think people are really going to go chasing Walk This Way cards. By the way, that's a good Aerosmith song. I don't think they're really going to chase that card. And it's okay. But if they do get it, they know it's a good hit. And I'm okay with this. This does not seem to be focused on $100 things. I looked, the mega box was $49.95 on the Topps website. This is a perfectly reasonable price point. So let's understand what's
$50 for kids.
So the packs are $3 or $4 each. When I go to Triple today, I actually have to buy some 5,000 count boxes to work through the donation they gave me. And so I'll buy a pack because it'll be fun. Because the cards look like they're fun. The insert will be fun. And that's really all that matters. All right, maybe the kids can't even afford $50. Most of the kids I know today can't afford $50.
Well,
but they can afford $3 for a pack.
So Walk This Way is 40 cards deep, and it is, hold on, a 1 in 320 pack hit. So good luck trying to collect.
You're not going to finish that set. We get that.
No.
And if somebody does, let Topps celebrate the fact that somebody finished the set.
All right. There's something I wanted to say, but I forgot. Let's see. If Celebration has Grimace autos, I'm a buyer. No. Sorry, Mets fans. No Grimace autos. My wife can't stop drooling over the Bryce Harper Game Day drip card. That makes me sick. Grimace patch autos. Sesame seed and don't give Topps any ideas. There are already too many parallels, okay? Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghost. Okay. I'd love to attend the Garfield show. It's 3,000 miles away. Otherwise, sounds great.
You would love it. Seriously, you would love that show.
Chris, I have a question for you, if that's all right.
Sure.
First of all, I love Baseball Cardpedia. I've been using it for years. Can't thank you enough for creating one of the greatest resources ever. Free resources. As someone who collects 90s cards, I mean, when I went down that rabbit hole, I couldn't have done it without Baseball Cardpedia. So I want to thank you for that. But question, why have they not created, or somebody, I know you got enough on your hands with baseball. Is there ever going to be a football card or basketball cardpedia?
There was a hockey cardpedia, and that lasted about 30 minutes.
Okay.
If somebody wants to create it, if somebody has a database full of, we'd be glad to host it. I don't collect other sports, so.
Because I collect all three major, well, I guess it's four major sports, sorry, hockey, but for my football and basketball collecting, I have the same questions I have that Baseball Cardpedia answers for me, and sometimes it can cross over, but sometimes I'm trying to figure out, and I'm like, man, I wish there was a football Cardpedia or basketball card, because it's just awesome. Yeah,
just one sport is enough for me, because I don't want to humble brag, but 90 to 95% of that is me. So
whenever I'm looking at something in there, I'm thinking, man, how much time must have this taken to put all this in there? It's just amazing.
Yeah. That's baseballcardpedia.com for all your baseball reference needs.
Fantastic.
Got a few minutes left. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but on Friday, the checklist for 2025 Heritage dropped. And I know Ryan Cracknell at Beckett posted it. Did any of you guys see it? Because there are some differences this year, just not the differences that I think most of us wanted.
Chris, I have not looked at it, so if you can provide details.
So the base set's still 500 cards with 100 short prints. Yawn. There's still gimmicks galore, although there are new gimmicks this year. I think one of them is, you know how in 76 they have that little player icon in the corner? That's one of them, a different player icon, but you're still going to get one relic or an autograph in a box. But the inserts are different, and I think they're going all in with the bicentennial theme with this, because there's a 100 card insert set dedicated, I think, to the greatest Americans, which seems to me like it would be more appropriate and something you would see in Ginter. So I don't know how that would work, but all of the other inserts that have been longtime staples of Heritage, like New Age Performers, Then and Now, they're gone and replaced with other ones. So I think Topps realized that Heritage needed a bit of an overhaul after 25 years. I just think that they have the overhaul in the wrong place. So and again, we really don't know much else other than the base checklist. We don't know anything about parallels. We do know that the whole set, all 500 cards, will be chromed instead of just the 100 to 150 cards that it's normally been. So
Well,
we shall see.
At one point, a lot of Heritage cards were chrome. And what's the print run's going to be interesting because originally they printed the print run of the chromes to like 1952. So I'm going to be curious what the print run on the chromes are.
I think maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, they lowered that to $9.99. And then for the Heritage high number set that just came out in 2025, it's down to $6.99. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be to like $7.60 or something because it's 76 tops. I don't know. So anyway, you guys have anything else you want to mention, plug? We're well past an hour now.
Just keep rocking in the Chris. Just take us home with playing "Rocking in the Free World," and we're good to go.
All right, Adam. Anything?
No, guys, it was an honor being with you. I've been watching you guys for a long time, so it's pleasure talking cards with you.
Same here. I guess that's it. So I'll say the catchphrase: keep rocking in the free world and stay hydrated, folks. Oh, and see y'all in Chantilly next week. Play the video clip. Come on.